couch where the Wi-Fi is good. Money in the Bank has been cashed in. Did the cash come to you? Did you enjoy the show? It's WrestleZone streaming to you right now after Money in the Bank. What did you think of it? All right. If you're watching the show on demand, don't be afraid to share the link or you stink. I'm Kevin Callum. That's the boss man, Bill Pritchard over there, the editor-in-chief of WrestleZone.com. It has been a very, very busy Sunday, hasn't it, Bill?
Indeed.
Yeah, indeed. Money in the Bank, your immediate takeaways from the show. If you guys are watching, get your comments on screen with this and let us know what you thought of Money in the Bank. This was, they billed it as a very unique show, and it felt like a pretty unique show.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, start to finish, very entertaining, and it's already over, and it's 9:30 Eastern, which is also pretty cool, especially coming off of a 2-night 3-hour each night WrestleMania. So
yeah, what do you think of that? The show ended. I was looking at the clock on Central Time for me, so it's 8:30. It's not even 9 o'clock our time. So I was kind of surprised by that because the match, the Money in the Bank match, the men's and the women's happened simultaneously, so they kind of happened at the same time, kind of like a race. And we'll get into what people thought of those matches here. But what do you think? That's kind of surprising. It ended pretty early here. People with different takes here. Love that people are hating Otis on winning. That's right. Otis Udovich, just Otis now, is the man who won by mistake, just catching a briefcase as it fell out of the hands of AJ Styles. King Corbin hit with a guitar. It's on a ring on top of a building, a ladder in a ring on top of a building. There was a lot of crazy stuff in this match. Asuka wins the women's Money in the Bank briefcase. She kicked King Corbin to get the briefcase, which kind of made it think like, oh, whoever just gets a briefcase first wins one, I guess is what they were going for. This was all over the place. We had cameos from someone who apparently wasn't Doink, but dressed up like Doink. We had John Laurinaitis. We had Brother Love, and of course, Vince McMahon telling people to get out of his office and using hand sanitizer. This was very heavy on comedy. But if you wanted wacky races, it's a madman world in WWE headquarters. You got it. Do you think it delivered on the billing, or was it more haha, less ooh wow?
I mean, it didn't really deliver on the risk worth the reward because that was the tagline the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they made it seem like it was going to be a very dramatic match, but like you said, it was very comedic and, almost slapstick at certain points. But
yeah,
as far as
especially when like Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles are talking to each other after getting thrown out of Vince's office, like it's a bit. People texting in, Justin Fierner saying surprise ending, entertaining main event. People enjoying it here. This is Steve texting in here saying, love seeing Brother Love. That was pretty cool. He came out of a bathroom just to have a stare down with Rey Mysterio there for a second. Thomas Blair was not a fan of it, said the worst pay-per-view I've seen in 40 years. It was a joke. Johnny Yu saying stakes and Money in the Bank. So because he's feeling Otis winning there. Scott George saying Money in the Bank was really, really good tonight. So a lot of mixed opinions on it. So it was unique. It delivered on the unique part. I do agree that there was more slapstick, funny humor to it than maybe action. But I definitely got the vibe that everyone in the match had fun with this. Am I wrong?
No, I think everybody had fun. And I mean, you can keep going back to it. It's probably a case of the current situation we're in with the pandemic. They got what they could, what they thought was funny. I mean, you could keep coming up with a bunch of excuses, but what they presented, I thought was pretty funny. I mean, coming off of WrestleMania with the Boneyard match, where it was, more like a horror movie, it's still this cinematic thing that people are trying to figure out. I think it was a nice counter from what we got at the last pay-per-view, and they, he said he was cashing in the tag titles.
Yeah, that was a weird thing. He said that Otis said this week that if he won the briefcase, he would cash in the tag titles, and he didn't even really get the briefcase. It just kind of fell into his hands, which was a silly thing to do. I think some people
would get a rematch. Like he has to defend the case, like
Some people very angry about WWE. Some people not happy about it. And of course, the common AEW is better comments we'll get after any WWE pay-per-view, right? We're expecting those, right, Bill? Those were coming anyway. So people asking Saul Santanto, is Brother Love officially back? Well, Bruce Pritchard, who portrays Brother Love, has been back in WWE now for over a year and is the head producer of SmackDown behind the scenes. I don't think we're going to see Brother Love on TV every week. Do you?
I doubt it.
I doubt it as well. There's enough new talent there to go with it as well. Other people, Shane texting in here saying the ending was a bit strange. The whole thing ended faster than usual. Yes, the show ended at about 8:30 Central, 9:30. Usually shows end at about 10 for pay-per-view time, so it was kind of cool. Johnny Yu saying AJ haunted by the Undertaker. He was spooked first by a poster of the Undertaker on the wall, just a simple picture of a man, let alone opening a random door that has caskets in it. But this is the WWE headquarters. They got a lot of those caskets lying around, man. They got to put those caskets somewhere. Eric Briggs texting in here from the UK. Shout out where you guys are watching from as well. He says WWE went in knowing this. They weren't going to please everyone, but they did what we as fans always wanted, something different. They got something different. Certainly this was something different. Different takes here. So does this do any favors for Otis, Udovich, and Asuka, or is this kind of like, you guys won that Money in the Bank, you didn't win a real one? Is this a real match? Is this a real show? Because it was it has such an asterisk tied to it in terms of doing this match inside the building. I love the visuals of seeing the ring on top of the building. I thought that was really, really cool.
I like that. I thought, it was really cool that they went into the office because I think the biggest thing, at least I was talking about for the most part, was, we want to see the dinosaur skull on the wall. So they did that. I thought it was really well executed. They went to like a lot of familiar locations that we know about, like the weight room with that, like neon lighting shaped in the W. And I don't really have a complaint about the way that match went down. I actually thought it was a lot more organized than I expected.
Yeah, true. More people texting in here. Salsatan, I watched Money in the Bank for Asuka's amazing dancing. Asuka was very personable in this match. She didn't have a lot of physicality besides getting up on top of that ladder. She jumped. She started the women's portion by leaping off of a balcony onto all the other competitors and then running into an elevator, like hitting the buttons to try and get into the elevator. So there was a lot of like action movie spoofs in this. I enjoyed it. I liked the look on Baron Corbin's face when he realized he broke a mirror inside the building. Like, damn it. Man, I'm going to have to pay for that. That's not going to be good. People asking, Albert asking, was it a good show? Well, Albert, if you didn't watch it, we have full results up right now at WrestleZone.com. You can go there and check it out as well. I will give my rating on it in a little bit, but kind of looking more at the card in general as it came down. It was a ridiculous match. Money in the Bank was a very, very ridiculous match. If you enjoy things that are ridiculous and over the top, if you like the Final Deletion, this reminded me a little bit of the Final Deletion in a lot of different ways. If you enjoy that kind of break the mold and let's acknowledge our past and wink at things, then I think you'll like this. But I could see this match being pretty divisive, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And we've already kind of seen that in the comments tonight, right?
Even with who won, but let alone the actual execution of the match itself. But you're always going to have that.
Mm-hmm. Let us know your match of the night. If you've watched the whole thing, let us know what you guys thought of the whole show. Patrick Legave saying, I liked the last match. They ruined the ending. It was ruined, he says. I thought Seth versus Drew was the best match of the night. Let's get into that. This was Drew McIntyre's first legitimate outside of WrestleMania title defense, and he had a very, very competitive match with Seth Rollins. I thought these guys, with no fans, all things considered, delivered on each other, and the idea of making Drew look legit, the sequence back and forth with them just kind of doing flash finishers on each other for Drew to get the win, I thought was good. Drew looked good. I like the post-match sequence where he said, Seth, if you're the guy you say you are, you got to shake my hand. And Seth very regrettably shook his hand. What did you think of Seth versus Drew? I give a big thumbs up.
Big thumbs up as well.
I was not opposed to it here. Also on the card, we had a big tag team title match for the SmackDown side of things. 4 different teams. I don't know if you can call that social distancing with that many people in the ring, but hey, you're going to have to get in the ring at some point. This was like Ross Berman from WrestleZone. Kudos to Ross, just launching his new podcast with Tamatonga, Tama's Island. Kudos for him, getting some pub there with Sports Illustrated earlier this week. He described it as the closest WWE would get to an indie scramble match. There was a lot of over-the-top stuff here. We saw a Spanish Fly from John Morrison and Grand Metalik, who I thought was probably one of the best players in this match with 4 different teams in it. Thought it looked really, really strong, but the New Day came out with the titles here. Now, the build-up to this was that the Forgotten Sons was getting surprising wins on everyone else on the SmackDown side of the tag teams. What do you think of them sticking the titles still on New Day?
Honestly, I don't really have like a strong opinion either way. Like, I was surprised they did this title switches with Miz and Morrison and New Day. Like, maybe, like, the only thing I could come up with is maybe they want to like get New Day another record, but I don't really have any strong reason as to why they would have lost tonight either.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought it was maybe a little bit too early for the Forgotten Sons. They've gotten their big TV wins. They got a win over the tag team champions in a non-title match. But, I don't think it's believable that they would win just right away. They are a team that you need to introduce to spice things up. I thought Lucha House Party is a team that if you give them a little bit more character and promo time, they could get something that maybe hooks you in more, because certainly they deliver great matches. You got a great match. They're always one of those teams where people forget about them, then they see them in the ring, they're, oh, wow, those guys are cool, and they forget about them. And I think that they're a team that kind of needs that. I mean, Forgotten Sons have been on SmackDown a lot less than Lucha House Party has, and they have more resonance, I think, in terms of sticking with people, in terms of being a talking point. I enjoyed that match. We had Bayley versus Tamina. This is the biggest match of Tamina's career, challenging for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Sasha at ringside. I think Bayley has benefited from no fans being there. You get to hear her kind of squawk a whole lot, spit water in people's faces, or almost do it and throw it in someone's face. And I thought it benefited from that. I thought, Sasha Banks getting involved. It still seems like they're still teasing Sasha turning on Bayley, but Bayley got out of there with the title. Yet again, some crafty shenanigans. She uses the power of her Karen haircut, not to complain to the manager, but to get out with the title. A lot of people thought maybe Tamina could win this title. What did you think of it?
I don't want to discount her, but I never really thought Tamina was going to win. And it's good that they built up another challenger, and I hope it's not just a one-off for her, where maybe if she doesn't get a title shot against Bayley, like, she at least sticks around. But I really think they're going to push Bayley and Sasha for SummerSlam.
Yeah, do you think that happens? Herman's texting in here. Do you think they can drag it out that long and still keep it interesting? Because this is an angle they've done before. Then they cooled it off. Now they're heating it up again.
Yeah, I think they can, especially in this situation where if they're not having everybody at tapings at once and they stagger them, and depending on who's at what show, like, yeah, I think, maybe just one week Bayley sends in a promo from her house, or, I don't think they have to turn on each other right away. I think we can get more of this where Bayley builds her case as a strong heel, and then maybe after Backlash we see that.
True. 5 weeks to Backlash, too. That's a long time build in the modern era of WWE to get to a pay-per-view. You have, they don't have any fans at the WWE Performance Center, but you have one fan with you right now on the ceiling. We have some wrestling fans actually on screen with us right now. Sorry, I had to get that out of the way. Do want to talk to you about this. We have Braun versus Bray. This has been built up on the SmackDown side of things. Braun is the Universal Champion. His former leader, his former cult leader, now the Fiend, Bray Wyatt. We didn't know exactly that we were getting the Fiend or the Bray, which seems to be the thing. He has the duality of the character. They've done this once before where he would use all the puppets and all the different things that he has on TV, but you don't get the Fiend. You don't get the monster. You still get this maniacal kid TV show host. And we got even more of the kid show stuff tonight. We had puppets popping up over the ring apron. Something they've done a little bit here and there, but they've never done it in a match. And we very rarely see Bray Wyatt even have a match. So we get to see him have a match. And he doesn't have the Fiend gimmick, doesn't have the monster mask. And we see the puppets pop around, and they show off Braun's power, but they make Bray look strong still. and he puts on the mask. He puts on his black sheep mask, the one that Bray gave him, and they tease this out, and they tease the turn. And I knew once he got in the ring, I was like, no, he's going to crush him. He's going to crush him, and that's going to be the end of the match. And Bray's is so happy, and the puppets are so happy. It was almost a predictable ending once they teased it, but it did deliver. I didn't hate it. This was a lot better than I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean, the mask thing kind of played out a little too long, but
yeah, it was a little long in the tooth there at the end. Yeah, it was.
Like the match was entertaining, and like the thing with the hug, like why did they have to get down on their knees and then do it and stand up? Like why didn't they just save time and do it standing up? Like nitpick stuff like that. But it gave Braun a solid win. I see a lot of people saying, the Fiend's going to come after him now, so.
Mm-hmm. We got Craig Backlund asking that. Is that the direction they go? Is it Fiend versus Braun at the next one?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad direction to go. I do think I find this storyline a little bit more compelling than I did before. It's odd that you would have a pay-per-view match kind of, even though they've been building it up for weeks, but it hasn't been like the be-all, end-all on SmackDown, where SmackDown has kind of been this like catch-all. There isn't like one main storyline really outside of Money in the Bank. The Money in the Bank match was the main focus of both TV shows, I would say, overall. I thought Drew and Seth got a little bit more shine than this title match did, but and I enjoyed both of them. So I mean, overall, pretty good match, especially outside of the freaky, ridiculous, wacky races that was the Money in the Bank ladder match. We had some other action here, some goofiness with R-Truth and MVP. MVP didn't even have a match. Bobby Lashley got in there and beat up R-Truth. R-Truth had some funny lines. I enjoyed his promo where he said he's going to have to sack Tom Brady to become the 24/7 champion. I think, yeah, obviously he meant Rob Gronkowski. Where do they go with this? Rob Gronkowski has this goofy hot potato title that WWE has. He's in the NFL, and he's on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we thought he was kind of done. Obviously, they don't have to do anything physical with him to get the title off him. They could, have him get rolled up at practice and he could lose the belt. But what do they do? I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, but does it benefit WWE to go in that direction?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the title just go away now.
They just write it off.
Yeah. I mean, part of the wackiness and the appeal was seeing 15 guys chasing the champion around Raw, and if you're doing social distancing, you're not going to have that. So I think maybe it returns when there's fans, but I think we see the title go away quietly. Mm-hmm. Or maybe Truth gets it back and still it goes away quietly. I think right now it doesn't make sense to keep doing. James
Espanto Fernando Tagahol is one of the faithful viewers of the show. He watches every single episode. Thank you so much, James. And he texted and he goes, I'm trying to read this correctly. He says, Big Kev and Boss Man Bill, will Vince McMahon pass out from all the beef in the ring with Braun and Otis? Is the direction that Otis goes, he is the Money in the Bank winner right now. Of all the people that has it, this is not the guy I think anyone expected to win. I would say he was the least likely of any of the competitors in the match to win it. They went in that direction. What do you think here? I mean, obviously there's a lot of possibilities with it. He's a guy who said, and we reported at WrestleZone this week, that he wants to cash it in for the tag team titles for him and Tucky, the Heavy Machinery boys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because, I mean, who knows if they change their mind. Like, this was taped, I think it was 2 weeks ago or whatever it was reported, but I would expect him to have some kind of promo with Tucker where it's like, no, dude, you won. I appreciate it, but, we're in here to be WWE champion. And then, like some kind of heartfelt schmoopy stuff like that, and then he gets a title match and loses. I don't think there's anything wrong with having him lose a cash in. He's over enough at this point where it's not going to hurt him what's his name, Damian Sandow did.
Yeah,
he was right on that cusp,
and his cash in
it ruined
him right back down there. Yeah, and the thing is, it's always been one of those things that elevates somebody, and Is it a waste to put it on Otis? Is this something that could have elevated an Aleister Black? Is this something that could have rebooted a Rey Mysterio or put AJ Styles back as a player after, losing the Boneyard match? That seems, with what they're teasing with him kind of being scared of an Undertaker poster, seems like we're getting more of AJ Styles and the Undertaker, but that's not for certain. I think it could be just a wink and a nod at WrestleMania. Is it a waste, though, to put that briefcase on Otis?
No, I don't think so. I think if it's going to elevate him, and I honestly thought like maybe Corbin would win, but I mean, he's already had King of the Ring. He's won the Battle Royal. He's won different, various accolades in WWE. And as much as I maybe thought AJ would win, he's already established. Ray's established. I think they're okay. I mean, honestly, I think it does the most for Otis, even though I just said a few seconds ago that him losing the match wouldn't hurt him. So,
true.
No,
it is an odd case here. It is an odd case, and it'd be definitely weird if he cashes it in for a tag team title shot. Something makes me think Tucky gets in his ear and says, no, you got to use this for a world title shot. You got to do that. Let's talk about Asuka. She won the women's Money in the Bank match. She did some very hilarious things. She's been quite the personality. I think she's one of those players because she's so animated and never has the motor mouth, is always talking, kind of fills that audible emptiness that we get with no fans at the shows, has benefited from it. And I think she was kind of awarded tonight in some way or another by winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. When she came to WWE, she was known as a shooter. She was a legit monster wrestler from Japan who hits hard and has all the strong style things that come with a big star from Japan. And came in and really became a very colorful character in the world of WWE. And some people like that term and don't. And it seems like she's benefited from that and has been able to balance being both. She's now Money in the Bank winner. Who does she go after?
I think we might see her also cash in and lose. I mean, maybe she goes after Bayley.
Well, I mean, they're teasing
Becky and
yeah,
Asuka, but I mean, they just did that.
True.
They've been so fast and loose with, the brand split and the wild card. I could very easily see they could very easily say like the Money in the Bank briefcase is not, is not brand restricted, even though some years it is. So
I think it'd be a little bit more interesting if Asuka went after Bayley, though that's a match we have seen. But I think it would be a little bit more intriguing for her to go after Bayley. Or, I mean, they've done Charlotte and Asuka before. They've done it on free TV. They've done it at WrestleMania. I don't know. I don't know if that's a monster match. I don't know if the person who wins Money in the Bank can go after anyone in NXT. For that matter, what's to say Otis wouldn't want to go in that direction either. But it's to be seen. Overall, out of 10, Money in the Bank 2020. What do you give it? Out of 10. All right. You can do the decimal points too if you're wishy-washy about it, but you got to bring it in somewhere. Obviously, 1 to 5, bad rating. 5 to 10, pretty good. 8 to 10, pretty strong rating. What do you think?
Give it an 8.
Give it an 8. You know, I'm going to be right there with you. I'm going to give it a 7.8. I'm almost right there with you. I did think there was a little bit too much ha-ha in the main event, but you know what? They build it as something unique and fun. And if you're a long, hard, diehard wrestling fan, they give you a lot of winks and different things in that match. Wouldn't exactly call it a fantastic ladder match with all the daring do's that come with that. But you know, it was pretty fun. Other people texting in, William Two Wages not too kind to it. He gives it a 6.5. He wasn't too fan of it. Other people giving it a 7. So if you're watching either live or on demand or listening to the podcast of this, go ahead and give us your rating. Hit us up on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on the Instagram. Do we have a MySpace, Bill?
Your guess is as good as mine.
If we do, we lost the password. Yeah, I also suggest you guys follow us on YouTube. We are posting the shows there on YouTube as well. Go and give us a subscribe and support the show. So a lot of mixed reviews here. Some people enjoying it. A lot of middle of the road reviews. It looks like thumbs are squarely in the middle. Sean Smith loved it. He gave it a 10. Kevin John gives it a 7.5. Mick Davis gives it a 13 just because of the broken mirror. He's a fan of broken mirrors there. And Shane gives it a 7.5. So if you're watching online, give us your rating. Now, outside of the fun that was Money in the Bank, we did have a very depressing and sad story to report today that was quite the talking point online. Obviously, there's enough sad news in the world today with COVID-19 and the different challenges everyone faces with that. But we had an unfortunate story today involving Alberto Del Rio in San Antonio, Texas. Bill, what exactly do we know up right now as we're on air?
So he got arrested for sexual assault, second-degree felony last week. I think it just made news today because he got out of jail today, Sunday morning at 3:30 in the morning. And according to My News for San Antonio was the one that really broke the story. He had an argument with the victim. It doesn't say what their relationship was, but one of the weird things, and I'll sidebar, they updated the post like 3 different times. So if this sounds out of order, it's because we updated it as they learned new information. So
developing story, man. Things change as new information becomes available.
He apparently accused the victim of infidelity, which makes it sound like they were in a romantic relationship of some kind.
Yeah.
And he slapped her a few times. It originally said he slapped her twice and then made her dance and threatened her. Now we know that she said he hit her a total of 10 times, the first 2, and then went to a different room, hit her 8 times. Man. And he threatened her. And then now they're saying that he bound her arms with boxing wraps and sexually assaulted her with different items over the course of several hours and also punched her in the back. And she's claiming she doesn't remember much after he grabbed her by the throat. So he was charged with all of that. He posted bail and was released Sunday. And if he's convicted, he could be facing between 2 and 20 years in prison and a fine up to $10,000. That's according to Texas law based on the second-degree felony sexual assault.
I don't think either one of us have to kind of express any kind of editorial opinion on this. I don't think we have to go into why this story is sad or depressing. It is another kind of sad point in Alberto Del Rio's life professionally in the eyes of many people. He's a guy who's had a lot of run-ins with the law in the past few years, and is a guy who at one point was considered one of the top performers in professional wrestling and tried his hand in mixed martial arts, had that recent fight with Tito Ortiz, which many people weren't fond of, but was certainly a guy who was trying to stay back out there and revive his career. And did some stuff with Impact, did many things before he went to WWE that made him a name. This is a sad, depressing story, and it is incredibly disappointing that something that you get entertained by goes this route. And I'm not going to go down the road of other people in the wrestling business who've gone down this dark path, but it's just such a sad story to read.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, there's some people that will say like, yeah, he was entertaining. He could have been this, he could have been that. But it honestly just seems like the latest in a very long list of really crappy things he's done.
Yeah.
Like the Tito fight seemed like maybe he was turning it around or it was like something positive, but this is bad. Like there's no way to spin it. Like this is bad.
Yeah, this is
this guy at all. Like
yeah, and even if he's remotely absolved of some guilt or a minimal amount of guilt, or he's not convicted on all of the charges, because there'll be multiple charges here. It's still you're done. I think you're done in the eyes of the court of public opinion. Has already pounded the gavel on Alberto Del Rio, and that is the world we live in. I'm not saying that may or may be right. Everyone has their day in court, but this is a sad thing. A very, very, very sad thing here. I mean, there was a point when you and I were working at WrestleZone a few years ago where every day we were getting asked by fans about his relationship with Paige. And when are you guys going to tell us more about their relationship? Because every other day there was just something else with the two of them together that made people question their relationship and whether or not it was abusive. There was all these things. It was speculation. And we don't know enough about it to say whether or not it was, but there are certainly a lot of things that on the surface were suspect. And there's been other stories about him that are more than suspect. And this one then kind of is, all right, here's a red flag that we can all see. And now a police department is involved. It's just all pretty depressing. And my worry is then that there's going to be plenty of people outside of wrestling say, oh, there's another wrestler doing something awful, and another thing like that. And that will happen. And we will see that and we will hear from it. But that's to be expected. We will continue to cover the story as it develops at WrestleZone.com. There could be some more information about this in terms of the obviously ongoing legal case that will follow this and everything like that. And we'll have it at WrestleZone as well. What other big stories do you think we're covering this weekend? Going into a Monday, we're out of Money in the Bank. A lot of people are excited about this Undertaker Last Ride that's airing right now. That's something I'm going to be watching. A lot of people call it the Last Dance of WWE. What do you expect out of this?
I'm hoping it's as good as The Last Dance. I mean, the early reviews from, there's a couple outlets that reviewed it and were just like, it's captivating and, you've never seen anything like it before. So I'm trying to keep my expectations, like, not from going too overblown, but I'm expecting good things. Like, usually the stuff like this with, the 365 and the WWE 24, like all their documentary stuff like that and network stuff is usually like top notch. So
365, I think I know someone who appeared on that show. I think I know a guy who got to appear on that series. If you don't know it, take a sip for the WZ man. Get on the network there, Bill. Thank you so much, Bill. Crack. Bill's going. You're going can to bottle.
Well, this is seltzer.
Oh, you went seltzer to beer? You went beer to seltzer?
Yeah.
You can do that? Is that allowed?
It's one beer.
All right. Once again, if you're watching on demand, let us know what you thought of Money in the Bank. And let us know what you thought of Undertaker The Last Ride Part 1. Go ahead and give us a follow on all the social medias, Instagram, no MySpace. Bill tells me there's no MySpace. We're not certain of that. If you can find one, let us know. And, of course, keep following us here. Keep following us here on Facebook and the podcast. We dumped a lot of good interviews this week on the podcast feed. WrestleZone Radio. You get every episode of WrestleZone Daily. You get this post show if you're just tuning in now. Maybe you want to listen to the full audio later. Go subscribe. We got interviews up there this week with Jon Moxley, Darby Allin, and Christian. Specifically, Christian and Jon Moxley. We talked to them, and you got to speak with them in depth about this new movie they have coming out, Cage Fighter Worlds Collide. We got some good scoops in these interviews, didn't we?
Yeah, really, really good stuff. I enjoyed talking to both of them. I'll say about Moxley, you can really tell he wants to talk and is very passionate about the film and, all that. And Christian was a pleasure to talk to. Again, really fun to talk to about the film, but I got to pick his brain a little bit about Edge coming back, if he would entertain one more run. Talked a little bit about his ECW stuff, which was pretty cool.
A forgotten era, the WWE.
I appreciated it. I told him that. I always tell people, like, you got Zack Ryder with the Long Island loudmouth gimmick. You had, Tommy Dreamer, Christian, Ezekiel Jackson.
Sheamus came out of that. CM Punk came out of that.
Henry had a good run.
Yeah.
Like
Matt Hardy had a run there as well. Mark Henry got to be, rebooted Mark Henry. So a lot of different guys benefited from that. So go check it out. It's in the podcast feed. Search WrestleZone Radio. We're available on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Stitcher, all your major podcast apps. We are working on getting the show on Spotify as well, but we're working on that one. Go ahead and subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow night after Monday Night Raw. What's going to happen with Becky Lynch? Is she going to face off with Asuka? We know that Edge and Orton are going to be on the show, and we'll follow everything at WrestleZone.com. Remember, when you're watching wrestling, especially now, staying safe, watching wrestling, just turn your brain off. Just turn it off a little bit and watch wrestling, and then get on here and turn your brain back on. Enjoy wrestling.